Today we're talking about the wood element personality type, and I'm so excited to share with you about that because it is my own personal element, my dominant element, which I'm going to share a little bit more in just a minute. But before we dive in, I just want to draw attention to my new website, jadescottdesign.com. This iteration of the website feels so aligned with my work, rooted in the mind body home philosophy, the 5 element theory. And I'm so proud of it. I think that you'll find it very comforting and soothing and calming when you land there. I think there's a little bit of everything for someone to take from there. Now, if you've been with me a while, you may have also been asking, where's Shop Elemental? It's gone. I eliminated it. I do still have a very simplified shop. And in that, you can find access to my book and journal, Room for Home, which is a great introduction to my work and the mind body home philosophy. You'll also find my new signature candle, Old Soul. It is sure to become your home's new signature scent. So please check it out, read all about it. It's warm, it's woody, it's got a hint of citrus. It is just the scent of home. I'm so excited to unleash it into the world and get some feedback. So please go check that out and purchase the candle. You can also find my Sacred Space Clearing Kit. So we're entering the spring season. We are just coming off Lunar New Year. This is the perfect time to space clear your home. So check that out as well. And of course, my bestseller, the Faceted Crystal Ball, is also still there. I couldn't get rid of that one because you guys love it so much. So jadescottdesign.com, gentle little plug before we start today's context. All right, let's talk about the wood element personality. So we're entering March. We're all thinking about spring, and spring relates to the wood element. Now, I thought this would be the perfect time to talk about the wood personality. As I said, it's near and dear to my heart because wood is my dominant element. Now, I have done some past episodes on the previous elements. I'll link to them here for you for easy access. But if you're new here, or you're new to learning about the 5 elements and the mind-body-home connection, it's important for me to just tell you that we are made up of all the elements. However, we have one dominant element, or maybe a combination of 1 or 2, sometimes 3, that are dominant. And I think that the reason it's so important that you understand your elemental makeup, or at the very least have some sort of understanding of it, is so that you can understand yourself better, right? How you move through the world with a little bit more ease, right? Because that's what we all want. We all just want it to be easy. And, maybe even more importantly, understanding the makeup of the elements helps you understand other people better. So the 5 elements influence human personalities. They influence behavior, emotions, our health. Another thing I want you to understand is that the 5 elements are not static. So yes, they have these archetypes, meaning they have qualities that explain themselves, their behaviors, their associations to the body. But the thing that makes the 5 elements different than other systems is that they're also cyclical. They work together in a cycle over periods of time, but also in the present moment. They can be very complex, but with a few key pieces of understanding, you can also understand them very well and very easily. So a good example is that you might resonate with a specific element right now in your life, but 5 years ago, you may have been more closely matched with another element at that time. So when you look at the full arc of your life, you will notice that you have these themes that lend themselves to a dominant type overall. But we also go through cycles in chunks of time. We go through all of the elements, a complete cycle of them in just a day. When we're asleep at night, we are in the water phase. When we rise, when we wake up in the morning, we are entering the wood phase. As we move through our day and energy peaks and the sun peaks at its hottest level, we're in the fire phase. As we wind down in our evening and we start going inward and we're preparing ourselves for rest, that's the metal phase, to be met with, again, the water phase as we rest. So just in one day, we go through these cycles, but we can also move through these cycles over shorter periods of our life, over longer periods of our life. But at the core, we are sort of sustained by one or two of them that sort of carries through our entire life. So let's talk about the wood personality. They are strong. They stand tall. The typical image of a wood is a tree. Okay, so they are strong, they are tall, they do not easily back down. Woods are fearless, and they lead with this fierce determination. You tell a wood that they can't do something, it's probably already done, right? If it's not done in the physical, in their mind, it is certainly done. Okay, so because woods are bold, they are incredibly independent and they turn ideas into action. They get things done and they get them done quickly, and then they're ready for the next task or the next project. So if you work in a team environment, you would be blessed to have a wood on your team. They will get it done. If you remember back in like elementary school and you had to work in a team, it was always like someone that just like took charge. That's the wood. Because the wood element represents the season of spring, you can get a sense of the wood personality just by that alone. They are game for anything new. They're ready to bring it to life, right? Just as spring emerges, it's something new. It's new beginnings, new sense of direction. That is wood. So they make great leaders. They make great visionaries. They are pioneers in their industry. For woods to take something new and to place it into the world, they have to be courageous. They have to be bold. They have to have confidence. They have this keen ability to ignore those that doubt them or disagree with their direction. So as long as their element is in balance, they will pull it off and they will create whatever it is and they will prove themselves right. Another aspect of the wood is they know when to pivot or when to adapt. I think adaptability is just as important for a wood to understand that being adaptable, that's necessary in order for them to take their vision, their creative pursuit, and manifest it. If you think of wood, literal wood itself, it has this ability to adapt to its environment. So just like we use wood in construction, the wood needs to be able to expand and contract. Otherwise, it will just snap. So there's this flexibility that's required of woods, but they have to be able to accept that and learn to balance when to charge ahead and when to pull back. If they can successfully do that, they will succeed in bringing their vision to life in a more sustainable way. One that allows them to push forward with a clear mind. Striking this balance of adaptability is probably wood's biggest challenge. They do work well with others, but they also want to do it their own way and not be held back by others, right? Because they believe in their vision so immensely. Again, that visionary, that pioneering essence, but they also do need to recognize that there is value in other people's opinions or suggestions. So because woods are visionaries, they do tend to be successful at whatever it is they do. They're often told things like, "How do you do it all?" And they make it look effortless. And because they do it so well, they often receive a lot of recognition from others. And that alone continues to fuel their drive. Now, where woods have to be careful is that drive, that fuel, can turn into overworking, overextending themselves, saying yes to everything and everyone, And so woods need boundaries. In addition to boundaries, woods like control. Okay, now I'm a dominant wood, as I've mentioned, and if I have to ask my children or my husband to do something and it takes a little too long or they do it a little differently than me, that can drive a wood crazy. Woods lean towards control and perfectionism. So, a really silly example is doing laundry here in our household. I like all of the dirty laundry to be right side out before it gets washed and dried. I also separate my clothing piles by whites, lights, and darks. It's just how I was taught. Now, my husband, on the other hand, is of the mindset that done is done. It just needs done, right? That's all he cares. He doesn't care if one pant is inside out and the other is not. He just tosses it in, doesn't care if it's dark or light, clean is clean, done is done. Now, this used to piss me off until I realized, this is just my wood element being frustrated, annoyed, and not in control. And I'm going to get a little bit more into the emotional layer of the wood element in a minute. But once I realized that it was just my element talking and not his ability to do the laundry right, I let it go. And so now if I do laundry, I still turn everything right side out before washing. And if he does laundry, he doesn't. At the end of the day, the laundry is done, right? And there's no more judgment on my end. So this is a really simple and even silly example of how when we understand our elemental makeup and the behaviors that are associated to them and the behaviors of others because of their elemental makeup, we realize there's no need for judgment. And we can just accept ourselves and others for the way they are just simply wired. So let's talk about those emotional states of woods. In Chinese medicine, elements are associated to organs and emotions. The wood element is governed by the liver and the gallbladder, and the emotions are anger, frustration, irritability. Anger, when out of balance, can damage the liver, which contributes to irritability. Now, remember when I said that woods like to be in control, right? Well, when they don't have control or they feel like they're losing it, they can become angry, they can become frustrated. Now, woods need to be mindful of this. They have that tendency to overwork themselves. And a wood can easily put in a 12-hour workday and feel completely accomplished and not burned out. However, tending to their body is essential if they're going to commit to that type of lifestyle or working relationship. So, eating well-balanced meals, avoiding sugars, fats, alcohols, or any drugs is really important for a wood because all of that gets filtered through the liver. And both the liver and the gallbladder, they work hard to determine, what nutrients stay in the body, which ones get stored, which ones get eliminated. A lot of decision-making is happening between the liver and the gallbladder, much like the decision-making process of a wood element itself. So if you are tasking your body with work and decision-making all day and you're moving from idea to action at a fast pace, you're consuming a lot of energy during the day. And you might do that for well beyond an 8-hour workday. But then in the evening, if your habits are just eating unhealthy, eating fast food, eating sugar, as a way to calm down, or drinking alcohol in the evening as a way to relax, you're actually running your system into overdrive and you're not, it takes time before it really gets noticed. So in addition to eating well, limiting sugar and alcohol, woods need time in nature. You might have to convince them to take time away from their office, but when they do, they really do find balance and peace from their constant mental tasking, the constant planning, ideating, creating. A lot of that lives inside of a wood's head. And so decompressing in nature is a really great way for woods to find more balance. So, overall, woods are reliable, they are honest, they are loyal, they appreciate fairness, but you better show up and show to them that you are trying your very best. Now, they need help sometimes to find that balance between engaging in fulfilling work and burning out. They need to be pulled away from their work or their projects to have a little bit of fun, to get outdoors, to feel the sun on their skin. The earth element is the best way to balance a wood element. If we look at all the elements, too much fire burns them out. Metal tends to restrict them from pushing ahead too much. So metal cuts wood, so they can feel held back by metal. And water can then saturate wood in a way that stalls any sort of growth that they want to make. So earth is really wood's best friend. Grounding practices for the body and at the home are really great tools for woods. So what do you think? Are you a wood or are you living with a wood? How do you see them or yourself a little bit differently now that you have a little more information on woods? And if you don't see yourself as a wood, but you're curious if you're maybe a water or a metal or an earth element, I've linked the previous episodes on those in the show notes. So you can go ahead back and see if you resonate with either of those more predominantly. I will be wrapping up this 5-element personality series with fire. And so make sure you're subscribed and following along to be notified when that one releases. If you enjoyed this video and you're on YouTube, go ahead and give us a like and a subscribe. If you're following on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or any other streaming platform, feel free to leave us a review. I would love to know in the comments, regardless of where you're listening or watching, which element are you? My friends, until next time, so much love and gratitude.